100,000 new websites are launched every single day using AI tools like Lovable, and almost none of them can be found by Google or the likes of ChatGPT and other LLMs, and we ran the tests ourselves. The problem isn't the builder, it's a technical flaw most people don't even know exists. And in this video, we're going to show you exactly what's breaking your vibe-coded site, how to fix it before it costs you traffic, leads, customers, and potentially thousands of dollars. Let's dive in.
Okay, vibe-coded websites. So this is something I think is relevant for most people. Maybe not everyone has dove into this yet. We have vibe-coded quite a few websites. Some for fun, right? When it first came out, when Lovable first came out, first became popular, we dove in, seeing what it was capable of. But then we've spun off some projects, and then we've gone as far as to redo our company website. So we have gone down this route. Now, our friend, guest on the podcast, Kazra Dash, came out with a study the other day saying that, let's see, he analyzed, I think, 6,000 websites, and none of them ranked on Google. Mm-hmm. Now, a few things to think about first, I think, before you say, like, it's just impossible. Lovable's only been popular for how long now? It's not like it's been 10 years, so it could be the case that these 6,000 websites are relatively new, unlikely to get a lot of traffic anyway. But there are some very well-known problems with vibe-coded websites. So a few things to know here. Lovable has 8 million users, and 100,000 new projects are launched daily. So
1,000 per day.
100,000. Sorry, did I say 1,000? 100,000 new projects. Now, a lot of these aren't websites. A lot of these are apps. Like we've got, I don't know, we've probably got 10, 15 like internal tools that we have built with Lovable, and a lot of people are doing that as well. But a good chunk of these are websites, and so this is something I think people need to be thinking about. Okay, so the problem is that these websites are client-side rendered. Now, a lot of this is like for non-technical people, might go over your head. But I think just understanding that Google can't crawl these or doesn't crawl them, some people will come back and say, like, Google can crawl these. But the problem is when you visit the site as a crawler, you see a blank shell. That's because the content only exists after JavaScript executes it in a browser. So, yeah. The thing is, if you dive into this, Google has the ability to crawl this. It's not as easy for it. It's slower. And I think one thing that every SEO will agree on is that you need to make it as easy and cheap as possible for Google to crawl your site. Unless you're a very important business, a very important website, Google won't spend extra resources to crawl your site. Like this has been a very well documented thing. Like you need to be easy. What was there's a phrase, I can't remember what it's like, the load budget or something like that, like a crawl budget, I think, where Google only spends so much to crawl a website. So this is, I think, very important to understand if you're building a new website or you're thinking like, my website looks like it was built in the first website ever. I see all these new websites coming on Lovable. I'm going to rebuild my website. It's a great idea. But you have to understand that there are some things you need to do before you just build it on Lovable and ship it. Mm-hmm. All right. So what did we find out when we built our own site on Lovable?
Well, it's interesting because firstly, there is a great website you can go to called totheweb.com. And you can run a simulation, a Google website crawler simulation. So if you put the URL of your website, whether or not it's hosted on Lovable, or if you've deployed it through like Netlify, just take the URL of your vibe-coded Lovable website into there, and it will run a Google crawlbot simulation and show you what it can see. So in an ideal world, when you run that, you will see that Google can see all of the headings. So any like H1, H2, H3 tags. You can see basically all of the information as served in like readable HTML. Mm-hmm. When we first built the Total Authority website, or when I first built it, I built it in Lovable. Didn't realize that there was even a thing called client-side rendering or whatever the hell it is. And it was it was an entire project built in React and Vite, I believe, which is not in any way built for SEO, which is weird, actually. I don't know why Lovable doesn't just build in Next.js is basically what you want to be building in. Okay, two interesting things. One, when we ran that crawl simulation, it couldn't see anything. It was all nested inside of this code that was, and it would just would tell you that it wasn't seeing anything. What's interesting is, though, I was able to get that website indexed when it was built in Lovable. I was then able to then go into Search Console to see what Google could see, and Google could see all of that code because it showed me that it could see it. But I think you're right. That was going to be costing it a lot of money. I think they've just reduced like the crawl sizes to pages now to the first 2 megabytes of a file. Yeah, resources are a huge part of it. We rebuilt the whole thing in Replit, which does use Next.js. So I think vibe coding websites is amazing, but there are some basic things that you need to know. You need to make sure that it is built for SEO, so you want to be using Next.js. You want to make sure that you start with a good structure. And the easiest way to do this is to go into your favorite LLM and ask it to like talk to you as an SEO expert that you're going to be vibe coding a website and you want to implement some solid foundations. You want to make sure that you've got like a sitemap, all that juicy good stuff. You want to make sure that, you know, things that are wrapped in headings, that you're adding schema to certain elements. Yeah, and I wouldn't do it in Lovable just because it's not built for Next.js, whereas other tools like Replit, or if you've got a Claude subscription, you can easily build in what you need to build in.
Yeah. Now, there are some solutions where if you build your website in Lovable, then I think you can export it to Next.js. There's some tools to do that. You can do pre-rendering. There's tools for that as well. So there are some options. Lovable itself says that you can, when you're building the site, you can place important information in the HTML. I think like these extra steps will probably get skipped by most people. If you're technical enough to know all that, then that's great. But I think a lot of people will miss over that. But for everyone who's used to not dealing with these issues, like these were developer issues. They weren't SEO specialist issues because you built your site in WordPress. And just all of that was handled. You didn't have to worry about that. So now these are important things to look at. Now, I have to imagine that Lovable at some point does fix this. I think it's probably not their number one use case. More people are using this to build web apps, internal tools, that kind of thing than websites. But as this grows and more awareness comes onto the SEO side of this, maybe it's something they fix. But one other thing I think people need to know is it's also very bad for your AI visibility. Why Google can read your JavaScript, I believe AI LLMs cannot. So there hasn't been a study on this, but I asked Claude and ChatGPT, hey, these type of websites, what can you see? And both of them said that they basically see an empty shell. So that they're not able to pull that at all. They're looking for HTML. So unless you have put that important information in the HTML, they get to your site and they're not seeing anything. So I think even more important for AI visibility, make sure you've covered your basis when you vibe code a website.
And I think if you're a business that is getting any sort of traffic and customer conversion, booked phone calls, anything from your website, even if it looks, pardon my French, shitty, don't risk it all for a pretty looking website that you vibe code in case you vibe code the SEO straight out of your business, in which case you're going to not get calls, not get customers.
Yeah, and I think we should, like, the point here isn't that you shouldn't do this. It's that you should map this out first. You should know exactly what tool you're going to use. Like you said, we built ours in Replit, which can build in Next.js. So pick a tool that can build in Next.js, or have a plan to pre-render or to export it to Next.js. So I think it's still
can get expensive though.
Yeah, but so can a custom web guy. Remember, for our agency a couple years ago, we spent, I'm not even going to reveal how much we spent. It went like 8 months.
About a holiday.
Yeah, it went 8 months over, or maybe even longer. It took forever.
Over a year.
the guy never even finished it. We got so tired. We gave him that deadline. He basically handed it over unfinished. So there's definitely a reason to I mean, we would never use a developer again. We would only ever, I think, vibe code sites. But just spend a little bit of time figuring out SEO side of things. You make sure you've covered that side of it.
Yeah, and use the LLM as a developer, like
100%.
Consultant. Like just talk and ask, and
Yeah.
you'll be fine. So it's out there, but don't take an unnecessary risk, and make sure to plan and execute.